Hi, it's Panda Movies here. Today, I'm going to explain the horror movie called The Hunt. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. The movie begins with a group text, where a group of people, one of which was Athena, talking about a hunt at the Manor House. Then, those same people from the group chat are seen boarding a private jet. When Staten, one of Athena's friends, was being served by a flight attendant, a man named Randy, who was one of the pawns in their hunt, comes out from the cargo hold, wobbling his way to the front. He was then approached by Ted, who claimed to be a doctor, pretending to help him, but he just stabs him in the neck because he wasn't supposed to go out yet. While Ted was attempting to knock him out, Randy then grabs the champagne bottle and starts swinging it around until Athena stabs him through the eye with her heel and ends up killing him. He is then dragged back into the room where the rest of the victims are and laid him down next to an unconscious woman he referred to as Yoga Pants. Yoga Pants and the other victims all wake up gagged in the middle of the forest. They then find a box in the middle of a clear field where a man bravely grabs the crowbar next to it and starts prying it open. Meanwhile, the rest of the other victims start running, thinking it would explode. They find out that it was a box full of weapons, and they come running to grab one for themselves. Yoga Pants then found the keys to their gags and helped the other victims to be released from the gags. Suddenly, multiple gunshots were being fired at them when Yoga Pants was shot to the head and was killed. Dead Sexy, another victim, makes a run for it and falls into a spike trap, where Shane rushes to rescue her, stepping on a landmine as they were running away, and ends up killing him and bringing Dead Sexy back to the spike trap. She was then later found by another victim named Staten Island and reached out his hand to save her, but she ended up grabbing his gun and shooting herself. Staten Island then makes a run deep in the woods and tries escaping by going over a barbed wire fence, where Target, also a victim, attempts to sneak up behind him, and Staten Island points his gun at him. They then meet two other victims named Vanilla Nice and Big Red. They then realize their situation is exactly like the Manorgate conspiracy theory, and they find it hard to believe. They all decided to climb up the fence to escape. Everyone but Target makes it across, who is shot by multiple arrows, and the other three had no choice but to leave him behind to die. They then enter a convenience store where Miranda and Julius were held at gunpoint by Staten Island. He then forced and threatened to kill them to reveal their location, and they told them that they were in Arkansas. Staten Island began finding them weird when they kept on saying odd political statements that are unrelated to their conversation, when suddenly Big Red eats a donut that was tainted and begins to have a seizure. Miranda and Julius then threw tear gas on the floor, wore gas masks, and killed each one of them with a shotgun. They then revealed themselves to be one of the captors in the hunt and kill Staten Island before finishing off Vanilla Nice. Miranda then felt guilty of killing a married man, and Julius justified it to her that he probably is a racist, and they had a whole argument about race. They then received a signal on their radio coming from the other captor that Crystal Creasy, also a victim, is approaching their store unarmed. Crystal arrives at the store and gets up to the counter, grabs money from her boot, and asks to buy cigarettes. After she asked Miranda and Julius what state they were in, she immediately attacked them and grabbed the shotgun under the counter and shot Pa and killed him. She then reveals that the price is too high for cigarettes in Arkansas and proceeds to shoot Miranda. She then went into the supply room and grabbed ammos and other potential weapons. As she was inspecting the outside, she discovers that the license plate of a truck outside is a fake that claimed to be from Arkansas, and under it revealed a plate of another country. She was planning to use the truck, but as she was going to open the door, she finds a string that leads to a trap that would make the truck explode if she opens the door. Other captives released a drone to Miranda and Julius's area when they couldn't get a signal from them. As Crystal was hiding behind the bushes, another victim named Gary then shot down the drone, and Crystal revealed herself to him. He had trouble trusting her, but Crystal had no time for his bull and commanded him to follow along with her in following the train tracks. Gary then explained the Manorgate conspiracy theory to her, and she appeared uninterested. When Crystal stopped to take a pee, a train suddenly was heard coming near and immediately told Gary to meet the train at the curve. They struggled to jump into an open cargo, but they were able to ride the railroad car. They then meet a group of refugees, and Gary was positive that they were crisis actors. A few moments passed when the train was suddenly stopped and raided by Croatian soldiers. When they all got down, Gary told the soldiers that he and Crystal were Americans and attempted to explain to the soldiers how the Manorgate is real and how the refugees were not actual refugees. Gary was shocked to hear one of the refugees speak English, and he later revealed to be a victim in the hunt, and he blended in with actual refugees. He then told Gary that the train wasn't supposed to stop and that the raid was unplanned. He then promised to give Gary a head start if he cooperates, which made Gary become aggressive and tackled the victim to the ground. He then grabs a grenade rolling on the ground and inserts it into the victim's pants, which makes the people run away. The victim struggled to get the grenade out of his pants, and it ended up exploding him to death. Crystal then joins the other refugees to go to a refugee camp, where she is questioned. She explained that she was knocked out one day in Mississippi and then woke up in Croatia. When they asked her how she got into the country, she didn't know what to say to them and then proceeded to tell them that she was chosen for the hunt. The authorities then brought out Don, who was also a victim. Don told his backstory to Crystal and asked her why she never questioned the whole scheme of the hunt, to which she replied that she didn't really care. Oliver, a representative from the American embassy, arrived and took them to bring them to the embassy. Oliver asked them about the hunt and gave his 2 cents when Don was explaining it to him. Crystal's suspicions towards him grew when he asked them why the elites chose them specifically, so she kicked him in the face and out of the car mid-conversation and took control of the wheel and ran him over. They get out of the car and Don starts getting angry at Crystal for killing the man that was going to save them, but upon finding Gary's body in the trunk, he was convinced that he was a bad guy. Crystal then found a case full of money and a map of the destination where Oliver was taking them. Don wants to take the car and make their escape, but Crystal wants to put an end to the hunt and decides to fight. The hunters, the same people who were in the private plane, all wondered where Oliver was. Richard then went out to take a pee when Don comes up to him holding a pig and Crystal kills him from behind. The hunters then become shocked when a dead pig was thrown to them, and that made them go into defensive mode. Crystal then kills them one by one, but before shooting the woman hunter, Crystal gives Don a chance to ask her the true reason behind the hunt, to which she answers, "Jesus told me to." A female voice then was heard from the radio asking Don if he had killed Crystal already, making Crystal point the gun to Don, and he did the same. Don tried manipulating Crystal that he isn't a member of the hunters, while refusing to put his gun down when told by Crystal. Crystal then sits down and talks with Dale and asks him where Athena was. When he refused to answer, she pressed on one of his injuries, which made him reveal Athena's location. Before shooting him in the head, he tells her that Athena is a monster and will rip her to pieces, but Crystal wasn't convinced. Then, a flashback from a year ago, where Athena, who was a big shot CEO, was confronted with their group chat's leaked texts about their jokes on a Manorgate hunt, and that the media believed that they were hunting human beings for sport. The higher-ups also explained to Athena that the careers of the people who belonged in the group chat were ruined. Cut to Athena and her friends picking participants from the people who they think were responsible for spreading the rumors because they were making the Manorgate theory into reality. When Crystal's profile pops up and hearing that her comment was an attack directly at Athena, she declares that Crystal was their snowball. Crystal then arrives at the gate of a mansion where Athena tells her to put her gun in the mailbox. She enters and sees pictures of the victims taped to the living room wall. She then finds Athena in the kitchen and proceeds to ask if he killed Don, but she refuses to give any type of answer. She then proceeded to the comment that Crystal had apparently left that made the whole Manorgate thing a reality. Athena then proceeds to tell her backstory to show that she knows her from inside out. Crystal then giggled and revealed that Athena had confused her with another Crystal May Creasy, but only the May was spelled with an E. She then continued to tell her that she messed up and got the wrong person. They then proceeded to fight all around the house, and when Athena managed to stab Crystal and weaken her, she strangled her and starts hitting her in the stomach with her knee. But Crystal stabs her with the knife that was left on her upper abdomen, making Athena fall on the ground, and Crystal did too. Before dying, Athena asked Crystal for the last time if she got the actual crystal, but Crystal says she really didn't. Crystal got up, burnt her stab wound with a blowtorch, put on one of Athena's dresses, and took her dog to the plane. The movie ends with Crystal telling the pilot and the flight attendant that their employer tried killing her and that she wanted to go home, and sat down and chugged a bottle of a very expensive champagne.